Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Darrell Owens, live from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Well, live, but I'm here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And this episode of 101 is being pre-recorded because at the time of the airing of 101 tomorrow at 6 p.m. on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course on the amazing Bowie Television, I will be representing Bowie Television on the field at Lambeau, getting prepared for Thursday night football between the Commanders and the Packers from Lambeau Field. And y'all know where I am when it comes to the Packer enthusiasm isms or whatever. But we'll be there tomorrow, and so I am pre-recording today. So when you're getting this, it'll be 6 o'clock somewhere, maybe 7 o'clock there. I don't know, but I am in Central Standard Time at the time. Anyway, with all that being said, we got a lot to get into. We got to talk week 2 of the NFL season and kind of get into all the fun stuff. So let's get into it. Let's get the power rankings, see who's at the bottom, see if we got a new number one. We'll check all that stuff out here on 101. Episode 180 of 101 begins now.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to 101 at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
All right, back. Episode 180, 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Like I said, we got a lot to get into, a lot to talk about, and we want to make sure that we give you everything that you need here for episode 180, 20 away from the illustrious 200. So with that being said, we got to get into everything. We got to get into the bottom, the outside looking in. We're gonna talk a little bit about the MVP race. I know it's at week 1. My rankings are probably a little bit different than everybody else's, but that is what it is. We'll give you my prediction for Thursday night football with the Packers and the Commanders. Then on top of all of that, we'll give you all the winners for week 2, at least my winners. Kind of tell you what your boy, how he did last week. Wasn't too bad of a week for your boy. Wasn't too bad of a week, but a very interesting week in NFL. We saw some games go down to the wire. We saw some games, maybe some all-time classics, but we saw a little bit of everything with that last week. So let's go ahead and get into it. And let's get into, ladies and gentlemen, the bottom. All right, so here we go. The bottom, heading into week 2 of the NFL season. And, every year we say the same thing. It's, oh my God, it feels like it goes too fast. Well, we're hoping to soak this one in just a little bit. So with that being said, first and foremost, let's look at the last team, the team that's at the very bottom of our power rankings right now, and that is the New Orleans Saints. Saints had a tough week last week. They lose to the Cardinals 20-13. Now, in this game, the Saints had opportunities. They had chances to win this game, or at least come back in this game, and you could just tell from the inexperience, or I guess you can say lack of thereof, of maybe talent, it just wasn't enough. And Kellen Moore wasn't able to get his first win as a head coach. The Cardinals had to sneak by the Saints. So that's a positive thing for the Saints. Alvin Kamara did what he needed to do for the most part. He got a touchdown in the game for, those guys who've got Alvin Kamara on their fantasy team, including moi. But the Cardinals needed to get this win. They get in there, they get the dub. But the Saints, for me, as I continue to look at this team, feel like a team that will, and I mean will, be the last place team in the league at the end of the season. And I think they will be the team with the number 1 pick. We got the Saints at 32. At 31, we got the Tennessee Titans. Now, there's a part of me that wanted to move the Tennessee Titans up on this list. They actually fought extremely hard against the Broncos, who I had in the top 10 last week, and had them at number 10 and thought that they are going to be a team that could surprise a couple of people throughout this season. Well, the real surprise was how well the Titans, or I won't say how well, but how the Titans fought hard in this contest against the Broncos. They did everything they could to win this game other than win the game. And Cam Ward, I mean, the numbers weren't pretty at times, only 112 passing yards, but you can tell that he's got something special working there if they can figure it all out. A lot of drop passes. A lot of drop passes. I mean, a lot of people complained it on Cam Ward throwing these bullet passes, but hey, man, the ball hits your hand, you got to find a way, or at least attempt to try to catch it. Some of these cases, the attempt was there, but it just wasn't enough. But the Titans did hang in tight with the Broncos throughout this game, and I wanted to put them higher, but I still need to see more from the Titans. I got them at 31. At 30, another team that had a really tough matchup against a team that I had to hire. I had the Bengals in the outside looking in last week, but the Browns gave them everything they can handle. And just, some grit and some grind by the Bengals, they were able to get the win in the contest. Joe Burrow, 14 for 23 for a touchdown and 100 and only 113 yards, which is crazy coming from Joe Flacco, but they were able to get the win no matter what. And I think that's the type of thing, the type of tough, gritty win that you need if you are the Bengals. If you're the Browns, it's a disappointment because you really thought you had a chance to like knock off the Bengals and maybe get things going in the right foot to start the season. But a little turmoil, but there's something to build on. Joe Flacco threw for 290 yards on the day, and so the 41-year-old is still out there cooking. He did throw two picks, so that's something they're going to have to clean up. But 31 for 45 for a touchdown and an interception on the day, but it wasn't enough. The Browns lose 17-16 to the Bengals. At 29, the Miami Dolphins. Boy, look, I had Miami finishing 5-12 in for the season, but in finishing last in the AFC East. And after they lost to the team I had 30th on this countdown last week, I feel like I might have been justified. It was bad. The Indianapolis Colts came out there and they punched the Miami Dolphins in the mouth. Had them at one point, it was 30-0 before the Dolphins were able to even get into the end zone. So it was just a really rough deal for the Miami Dolphins. And so the rumors for Mike McDaniel are starting to crank up. And that's something they're going to have to figure out soon. If not, I don't think those rumors are going anyway anytime soon. And I think the Dolphins could be in major trouble. But shout out to the Colts. Shout out to Daniel Jones, and what they were able to do in that game because they proved me wrong. I said there was a weird vibe about the Colts. I thought that maybe Daniel Jones could. This is his chance to do good things, and hey, he did it. So shout out to him on that. And for those who are wondering, you be like, Darrell, your power rankings. For those who are new, the first couple of weeks I base it off a record. So I do kind of go through the records, and I try to give those teams who are trying to build themselves up, or opportunity to say, hey, look, if you won these many games, and even if they were least opponents or not as good opponents, I'm not going to take that away from them. So the first couple of weeks they're going to look wonky for some people out there, but that's just the way I do my power rankings. At 28, we got the Carolina Panthers. Carolina lost 26-10 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and a team where I thought that things were maybe looking on the up and up, or could, they'd be a lot more competitive. It just didn't go the way I thought it would have went. Jacksonville had them up 20-3 at halftime, and they pretty much handled things from there. They had a lightning delay there, or a weather delay there, which kind of held them back a little bit. So that part was a little bit of a tough run there for the Carolina Panthers. So they're going to try to bounce back this week, and they're going to have to if they want to kind of get things on the right foot. But a nice week for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So nice for Travis Etienne that they decided to trade Tank Bigsby to the Philadelphia Eagles. Like the Philadelphia Eagles need more running backs. So now the Eagles and Howie Roseman do it again, ladies and gentlemen. At 27, the New York Football Giants. Now, I got a chance to see this Giants team in person last week. I was a little disappointed because I'm not going to say I thought that the Giants are going to win the Super Bowl. I thought they would be a lot more competitive. Now, they did keep this game close for the most part, but then it just got out of hand towards the end. And not even on a score front. It's just the way the game was being played. Their offensive line didn't give Russell Wilson any time to just maneuver. And a lot of people are calling for Russell and time for Jackson Dart, but I'm like, I won't even say this is all on Russ. I mean, the Commanders' defensive line did a phenomenal job of putting pressure, a lot of pressure on this Giants offensive line, which a lot of people, including myself, did not think was that too good heading into the season. So that's something that the Giants are definitely going to have to clean up against Dallas this week. But man, oh man, it looked rough. At 26, we got the New England Patriots. New England loses 20-13 to the Raiders, and this is a game that I thought the Patriots might be able to kind of, get things on the right foot. But you can tell that they're still a growing team, and I still have a lot of confidence in this Patriots team. So I'm not going to dog them out too much yet. They still got some room to grow, and I'm intrigued to see what they do there. But I also think they need to find more ways to get Travion Henderson involved in this offense because I think he can be a big catalyst for this team. At 25, you got the Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks lose a tough one, rough one to the 49ers 17-13. Had the lead in there. It was another back and forth battle, an ugly NFC West battle between two teams that know each other well. And in the end, the 49ers were able to get the 17-13 victory. The Seahawks, I still think their offense doesn't look the hottest. So that's something that they want to continue to improve on as they head into week two. At 24, we got the Chicago Bears. Now, look, I don't want y'all to think that this is the Packer enthusiast coming out of me, but it may be. But when people say like, the Bears are gonna, the Bears are gonna bear, they're gonna be the Bears, they're gonna do what the Bears do. They did that on Monday night. They had the lead confidently. They was up 17-6. It looked like the Bears were gonna get their first win of the season, a nice win against one of the toughest defenses in the league in the Vikings. What happened? JJ McCarthy happened. He showed up, showed out, and did everything he needed to do to help get his first career victory as a starting quarterback in this league, but more importantly, get the Vikings on the right foot. And that defense came up big, I mean, absolutely big in the second half of action. So we got the Bears at 24. And I still got faith in them because I saw a lot from them in that first half. Like I said, this Bears team looks pretty good here in this first half. But it just didn't materialize. They they may have left some points out there, and that's something I think that will, get better as the season goes along. As Ben Johnson continues to, navigate through his first year as a head coach. At 23, we got the New York Football Jets. The Jets are another team that really impressed me. And I'll be honest with you, I probably should have put them higher because I like what I saw what I saw from them against the Steelers. And it's kind of tough, going up against Aaron Rodgers when he's throwing for 4 touchdowns, and that's a different type of person when Aaron Rodgers is clicking. But I like what I saw from the Jets, and I think Aaron Glenn has this team on the right page. The Buffalo Bills need to be careful this week. That's all I'm going to say because I think they've got the right recipe if they can just kind of get it together. Justin Fields is finally being utilized the way I think he should be utilized. So, yeah, I like what the Jets are doing despite the loss. A tough one to the Steelers, but I like what I'm seeing from this team. I think they can still make things happen. So don't count them out just yet. Then at number 22, we got the Dallas Cowboys, another team that surprised me a little bit, but they fought hard, had a very tough physical game with the Eagles, and they just couldn't pull it off in the end. The Eagles were able to hold them off. Another team that I think may have been affected by the weather delay. Weather delay comes in, gives them a little bit of all that free time of sitting back chilling and all that stuff. I think that you can't have that sometimes in this league or in any league, and that amount of time away from the action and keeping your momentum really did affect the Dallas Cowboys in my opinion. But it was enough for the Eagles to get their first win of this season. But if I'm a Dallas fan, there's some positives, but they've got to find a way in my opinion to stop the run. Their defense had a lot of holes, but Jadavion Clowney was seen at practice and maybe getting added to Dallas to help bolster the defense. Cowboys at 22. At 21, the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons um, are a team that I still think are so close to being like good, but it's still not there yet. The Buccaneers were able to come back in this one and get the 23-20 victory over Atlanta. Michael Penix, 298 yards, 27 for 42 and a touchdown. He had a solid day. So I'm intrigued to see what Penix and the Falcons can do as they continue on in the season. But it's a tough way to lose. It's a tough way to lose. But this Buccaneers team that has won the division, I believe, for the last 5 years, they're going to be a very tough team to stop. So we got the Falcons at 21. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the bottom, the Saints, the Titans, the Browns, Dolphins, Panthers, Giants, Patriots, Seahawks, Bears, Jets, Cowboys, and the Atlanta Falcons. They're at the bottom, man. I mean, look, there's some teams in there I still think can make some strides. The Jets being one of them that I think can have a really solid year. The Patriots still a team that I have aspiration for. Four of the teams that I had in my ranking last week are teams I think could surprise. Loss. The only one that won was Jacksonville, who I actually have making the playoffs at 10-7. But I want to see what kind of goes on from there. I want to see what some of these bottom teams can do to try to crawl out of the bottom and get into the outside looking in. But we shall see if they can make that happen. With that said, let's go to the outside looking in. All right, outside looking in, outside looking in. At number 20, we've got the team that we like to call the Houston Texans. Now, Houston had a matchup that kind of they had chances to win it, and it was a tight. I don't want to say a defensive battle, but just a tight game where the Rams and the Texans, battled it out. But the Rams get a 14-9 win, and the Texans had offensively. It feels like they just couldn't. I mean, this is both teams just couldn't get it going, and I still think that this game could have still either went could have went either way. And if you are a Texas fan, don't be too sad just yet. I think they'll still be fine. But I have them at 20 this week because I still need to see more from them. The Rams, who I had going to the Super Bowl, barely were able to get the victory against the Texans. At 19, the Detroit Lions. Now, I probably should have Detroit lower on this list, but I know the talent that they truly have. But it was a rough go in Green Bay last week. And to be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised that it kind of went the way it did. I really thought the Lions, even though I picked Green Bay, I thought the Lions were going to be the Lions and continue their dominance against Green Bay in the last 6, 7 meetings. But that wasn't the case. Michael Parsons and the crew came out looking good, even though Parsons only did like 29 snaps, but he made impact while he was there. Then on top of that, you see the Jordan Love led offense clicking, taking care of the football, not throwing, not dropping footballs, I should say. Josh Jacobs being Josh Jacobs, that's what you need. That's what you need if you're Green Bay, and that's what you're going to need. I guess tonight, technically, if you want to beat the Washington Commanders. We got the Lions at 19. At 18, the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, you Darrell. Kansas City's not that bad. Yes, once again, we go by records until we get a little bit further along in the season. So I got the Chiefs as the second best team that lost behind the 17 team, the Baltimore Ravens. The Chiefs did not look like themselves for a lot of that game against the Chargers. And they had, Justin Herbert looking like he was ready to become an MVP. I liked what I saw from Justin Herbert. I thought he looked crisp. And the re-addition of Keenan Allen, you can tell, meant a lot. They needed to have Keenan Allen back, and it shows. It was just beautifully done by signing Keenan Allen back, giving Justin Herbert somebody he knows, somebody he's comfortable with, and it's also going to help McClunky along with Quentin Johnson. As you saw, Johnson, he had 2 touchdowns in the game. So it's going to help out both of those guys with Keenan Allen being there. And also, of course, Justin Herbert having that security blanket back in Keenan Allen. So, with all that being said, Kansas City's got to work on some things like big time, big time. At 17, we got the Baltimore Ravens. I'm not even going to go too deep in this. If you haven't heard about this as a football fan, then you're living under a rock. But this Baltimore Ravens team screwed the pooch big time on Sunday Night Football. Prime time, you're up 40-25 with a couple minutes to go in the game. Looks like it's well in hand. And what do? You fumble the game away. And you let the Buffalo Bills come back and win this one 41-40 with just a couple minutes left in the game. And that Ravens team I seen beforehand, minus what some of the defense looked like, they were amazing. We saw some really good stuff from that Ravens team offensively, especially Derrick Henry. He was an absolute monster. Obviously, yes, he did fumble towards the end of the game, but he rarely fumbles the football. I'm going to still give my boy a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there, but definitely a tough go for the Ravens, and they're going to have to bounce back this week against the Cleveland Browns. Now, at number 16, now this is for my best from the worst of the teams that won. And that's how, like I said, this is how it's going to go over the first couple of weeks. At 16, you got the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, they won and they won impressively against the Dolphins, but I'm still on the fence on what this team is going to look like on a game to game basis. But what an impressive performance by Daniel Jones. You know, you got to give credit where credit is due. Daniel Jones had himself a day, 272 yards, 22 for 29, and pass attempts, a touchdown. You know, Jonathan Taylor doing this thing, 18 carries for 71 yards. Michael Pittman had 6 receptions for 80 yards. They just look good. They look good. So, like I said, it's completely open. It's completely open. So anything can happen in there, in my opinion. It really can. I mean, maybe the Titans are, but after the way the Colts perform, I wouldn't be surprised if the Colts go out there and do their thing. So let's not sleep on the Colts because I like what I saw. At number 15, we've got the Vegas Raiders. Vegas getting their win against the Patriots, 20-13. Wasn't pretty, but they got a dub. And that's how you want to kind of do it. You want to just stack your wins any way you can. And so Pete Carroll doing a phenomenal job of, he's the only head coach, I believe, 4 different teams and to win the opening game as that head coach for each team. So I believe that's Patriots, Jets, Seahawks, and of course now the Vegas Raiders. At 14, Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals got a sneaky win against the Saints, and that's something that yes, they won the game, but they've got to improve. And I feel like if you're the Cardinals, you got to put a team like the Saints away and put them away early. So you got some things to work on, Kyler. At 13, the San Francisco 49ers. Look, I had San Francisco in the bottom last week. Obviously, they get the win, so they deserve to be in the outside looking in. They're still kind of shaky, all the way around. Not in a bad way. I think they can continue to improve. I was impressed. I think that Purdy is a really good quarterback. Obviously, he got paid the money, but there's some people that say, "Oh, he's not that good." Da, da, da. But I saw some things to say, "Okay, this guy is good. He's accurate with the football for the most part. He made some really nice throws." Ricky Pearsall had a really good game. The backup tight end, which I'm not even going to try to destroy my man's name, but he came in after Kittle got hurt and did some really good things. Now, the unfortunate thing is Purdy is hurt and he could miss a couple of weeks. So, it could be backup quarterback time in San Francisco. And looks like it will be. It's just something you don't want to see if you're the 49ers, but they're getting nicked up in too many ways. Kittle is hurt, Purdy's hurt, Jawan Jennings is a little bit nicked up. You don't need everybody hurt now. You need your people. And this is what happens to the 49ers every year. I don't know who's on that training staff, but somebody got to fix it. You can't be getting hurt this much. At number 12, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I told you I had Jacksonville going to the playoffs in my beginning part of the season, or when I did episode last week. They were my team. I think sneaks in and surprises people a little bit this year. And I like what I saw. Yes, it was against Carolina, but you can tell the confidence. I like some of the things I saw, especially from Travis Etienne. He looks like he's ready to roll. Travis Hunter made a couple of nice plays in his debut. I like what I see from the team early. So I'm intrigued to see what they can do this week. They've got themselves a really nice matchup this week, and I think that they should be able to beat the Bengals. I've got 'em just a little sneak peek. I got them beating the Bengals this week, so watch out for Jacksonville. Speaking of the Bengals, there we got the Bengals coming in 11 after their 17-16 win over the Browns. Defensively, not a bad game. Offensively, not what we expected. So if you're the Bengals, you just got to continue to get better as the weeks go by. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, here is the outside looking in. At number 20, you got the Titans. Let me excuse me, the Texans. So it's Texans, Lions, Chiefs, Ravens, Colts, Raiders, Cardinals, 49ers, Jaguars, and the Cincinnati Bengals, rounding out the outside looking in. All right, so there it is. Outside looking in. We're getting closer, people. We're getting closer. And now it's time to find out who are our top 10 teams heading into week two. All right, so here they are, your top 10 teams heading into week two. Here's the fun part. With these top 10 teams, we had a little bit of movement. And I could be wrong on all of this, and some of it may be based off of hype, but it is what it is. We'll go with it for now. At number 10, the Denver Broncos. The Broncos stay where they are. Um, they got a win against the Titans, but it wasn't impressive. So they're still a young football team with a lot of young talent that made the playoffs last year they give me a lot of Packer vibes from 2 years ago where they're trying to grow. So we'll see what that looks like for this Denver team. But they still look like they can be a really good team. And after seeing Kansas City lose and the Chargers win, this to me, this is a three-team race unless the Raiders surprise everybody. So three-team race in the AFC West. Broncos at 10. At 9, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Aaron Rodgers, 0 for out thou, Aaron Rodgers. Look, here's the deal. Aaron Rodgers is the man. They did banged up, injured. They had a whole bunch of things to say about him. But what does Aaron Rodgers do? He comes out there, he gets a big, big win against his former team, the New York Jets. He throws for 4 touchdowns. And all of a sudden, people are like, okay, Pittsburgh, we'll see what we got going on. Got to tighten up some things on defense, but I like what I've seen overall. Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers in the top 10. That's why my man Jody, shout out to Jody and his son. I know they watched the pod, and I'm glad that they enjoyed the show. So at number 9, the Pittsburgh Steelers. At number 8, the Minnesota Vikings. May have put the Vikings higher, but with the young quarterback, that's kind of why I gave him a little bit of an Achilles because we only seen one start, but it was an impressive start. Tough beginning, great ending. I love what I saw from the team in that second half and able to fight back and beat the Chicago Bears 27-24. I told everybody last week, I had this weird feeling about the Vikings. They got a great defense, and if J.J. McCarthy gets comfortable, they're a problem. End of discussion. At number 7, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that I have high hopes for, a team that I could see maybe in the NFC Championship game. And Baker Mayfield, who's been great over the last couple of years. That's why the Buccaneers gave him that extension. I love what I see. Love what I see from Tampa Bay. Despite a rough go in this one, they still were able to get the win. And sometimes you got to win the ugly ones. Abuke with a great catch in his debut with a big touchdown. So great job for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're at number 7. At number 6, the Washington Commanders. Washington, in their game against the Giants, some struggles, but like I said, just being there, it felt like Washington should have won this game by like 4 touchdowns. That was the vibe. It felt like they should have won this game easily by 4 touchdowns. But they let the Giants hang in, and they didn't pull away until late. So they got some things they got to work on, but I did like what I saw from the defensive line. Dietrich Wise, Deron Payne, Von Miller disrupting, Johnny Newton doing his thing. I love what I saw from the Commanders. And see if they can work that tonight against one of the best defenses one of the best offensive lines in football with the Green Bay Packers. Commanders at 6. At 5, the LA Rams. Even though I didn't like the performance overall, I still like them as a team that could make moves in the NFC. So I'm going to put them at 5 for now and still hold judgment or reserve judgment for this team. At 4, the Chargers. Nice win in Brazil against the Chiefs. And Jim Harbaugh looks like he's got those guys on the right foot. They're young in a lot of position areas, but they feel like they could be a team that can be a problem in the AFC. Are they with the Bills and the Ravens and they beat the Chiefs, but are they up in that upper echelon? We're going to find out. But I like what I saw from the Chargers in that Week 1 game. At number 3, the Green Bay Packers. I had them at 11 last week. And I was extremely impressed, extremely impressed. And I don't, maybe it's a Green Bay Packer enthusiasm or being a Green Bay Packer enthusiast that kind of got me up all the way up to 3. Maybe they probably should just be at a little bit at the top. But with the performance they did against a really good Lions team, made me say, okay, maybe they're better than I thought. They could prove me wrong tonight. We gonna see. When they could prove me wrong tonight, we can see. But for now, I'm put them at number 3 and reserve judgment from there. At number 2, the Buffalo Bills. They deserve it. I mean, down 15, come back and win that game the way they did, absolutely amazing. Shout out to Buffalo. Tough game to win against a really good Ravens team, maybe a potential AFC championship game, later on in the season. And that's the case. That could mean big because Buffalo got this win. They had the head-to-head matchup. So many good things could have went their way, but we'll see how it goes. And number 1, for the second straight week, the Philadelphia Eagles. Wasn't the best at times, but they got the win. And, the champs are still a champs, and I want to respect the champs until they prove to me otherwise that they don't deserve to be respected. Here it is, the top 10. Broncos, Steelers, Vikings, Bucks, Commanders, Rams, Chargers, Packers, Bills, and the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, so there it is. There's our power rankings all set to go for the week. But now we're going to finish this thing up the right way, and we're going to finish it up with the finale. So last week, your boy didn't do too bad. 11-5 to finish the week. There was a couple games that I was really surprised that I ended up losing. Main one being the Dolphins game. The Dolphins game really blew my mind. I really thought that I was going to win that one, but end up not being the case. The Ravens one was obviously a little bit of a hurt one. I probably should have went 13-3. The some of the other games I can see why I lost them. The Seahawks and the 49ers are going to be tough games, so I'm not worried about that one. The what's the team name? I'm having a whole mind blank here, y'all. Oh, but another like with the Raiders and the Patriots, that could have went either way. So it is what it is. We'll see how we do this week. Now, my players of the week, Kings of the Gridiron for week number 1. First, we got Justin Herbert, 25 for 34, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, a 131.7 QBR rating, and 27-21 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I seen the NFL's player of the week. They gave it to Josh Allen, but I'm going with Justin Herbert because I felt like his performance meant a lot more. Yeah, I know y'all gonna say you're crazy, but when you're trying to get over the hurdle in that division, I'm gonna give the edge to Justin Herbert as he get his second all-time King of the Gridiron. Then, including or talking about guys who are getting their second King of the Gridiron, Foysafe or Lunkun. I know how to short it. 10 tackles, 1 interception, 1 forced fumble, and a 26-10 victory over Carolina. Now, he did get the Defensive Player of the Week in the NFL, so I guess I got that one right on cue. So shout out to our Kings of the Gridiron, Justin Herbert and Foy Olunkun. Alunkun. Yeah, something like that. Next, my MVP, top 5 MVP candidates. Number 1, Josh Allen. That performance at the end of that game was the MVP candidate. You probably said, well, Darrell, how do you not give him player of the week over Justin Herbert and have him 4? Well, I still like what Herbert did overall, but Allen, based off of where he was last week in this power ranking for the top 5, I'm going to give him the 1 spot this week because that was magic, what he did at the end of that game. And you probably said, Darrell, you contradicting yourself. Oh, well. And number 2, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry had a really good game, against the Buffalo team, but it just wasn't enough. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. The fumble really hurt him, and he probably should be lower on this. But I love what Derrick Henry did in that game. Unfortunately, the fumble is going to haunt him just a little bit. At 3, Baker Mayfield. Tough comeback victory against the Falcons. Love what I saw. Justin Herbert, you already know how I feel there. Got him at number 4. And Lamar Jackson, because he had a really good game up until the way it panned out. I have him at number 5. Those are my top 5 MVP candidates heading into week 2. Now, prediction for tonight's game. I got the Packers winning 30-26. I think it could be a high scoring affair at Lambeau Field, which, like I said, this guy right here is just ecstatic about this opportunity. It's going to be a lot of fun to be able to cover this game for Bowie Television and just have an opportunity to soak it all in a night game at Lambeau. I got the Packers winning 30-26, but do not be surprised if this is the other way around by the end of the night. And last but not least, my picks for week 2, I got the Packers, Ravens, Rams, Jaguars, Bills, Patriots, 49ers, Cowboys, Lions, Steelers, Broncos, Cardinals, Chiefs, Vikings, Bucks, and San Diego, aka Los Angeles Chargers, getting the dub on Monday Night Football. All right, everybody, that's it for this on the road edition of 101 here from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I wish I was close enough to the stadium so I can show y'all the stadium I saw when I pulled in, and second opportunity to be able to see it. I went back in 2016 as a fan to watch the game, and now going in as a member of the media it means a lot to me. So shout out to Bowie Television for an amazing opportunity. And I cannot wait to show you guys all the action, pictures, videos, and all that fun stuff on Bowie Television next week. But once again, we thank you all for tuning in for another episode of 101. We'll be back next Thursday in a non-preemptive situation. I'm going to be at home next Thursday. So I'll be able to bring you 101 non from the road this time around. But once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in for 101. This has been episode 180 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, airing on the amazing Bowie Television. Until next time.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the 101. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.